We started with hard-hitting stuff like video fireplaces and video aquariums. So yeah, I'd go take a camera to my friends' houses, my friends' parents' houses that had nice houses and nice fireplaces, and set a camera up, light a fire in like the middle of June, videotape that, buy some Christmas music, put it with it, put that on a DVD, and sell that.
This is the Vance Cole Podcast.
Welcome back to the podcast. I'm glad you're here. This is a podcast where I try and interview experts that have a deep knowledge in an area that I don't know anything at all about, and then try and figure out how do they understand the world in ways that could help me do things better. This week's interview is with a really unusual character named Jamie Salvatore. Jamie is the CEO of an online retail outlet called VAT19.com. Now, if you go to this website, you will find that they sell really unusual things like a 6-foot-long gummy worm or the world's spiciest chocolate or all sorts of silly putty and games and toys that you can't find just anywhere out on the internet. What's even more interesting about Jamie than his unusual store is the fact that he has marketed so many of his products on YouTube, and he's done it so well that he's actually amassed an audience of 6.5 million subscribers. Many of his videos get all the way up to 85 million views. This is an incredible reach, and it actually describes something that I think is pretty important. Jamie knows how to capture the attention of people and keep them entertained and engaged, and it's helped him build a very successful business. You will find out, though, that Jamie isn't just a great marketer. He thinks about things in very unusual ways. And after we get through the components of how did he start his business and what is he really doing on YouTube, we start talking about what is his impression and how does he feel about kids and what they should or shouldn't be allowed to watch on YouTube or what technology should be made available to them. And he also ends up talking about YouTube and how they've demonetized certain programs over others and how does he feel about that and components of things like hate speech. This was a wide-ranging conversation and quite interesting. And one of the things that you should note is, as soon as we got done with this interview at about 11:30 at night, Jamie left here and went back to work. He is a hard-working entrepreneur, and there is a lot to learn here. But even more than that, you can tell that Jamie has a great personality and is just fun to be around. So buckle in and enjoy. Jamie Salvatore,
Hello.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So a few weeks ago, I had you and your wife down to my house. We just moved into the neighborhood a little while ago, and we were sitting outside, and I remember thinking before you came over that it was nice that the couple was coming over. It was going to be a lot of fun. And then we were sitting outside, and I was talking to your wife, and she ends up being a PhD scientist and actually quite impressive. Yeah. And then I turned to you and was like, so you're like an attorney or something?
Yeah, nah. My brother was. My uncle is. Grandfather was. My brother is. But me, not so much.
And so
I felt like you were disappointed for a moment that I wasn't an attorney.
Well, I think
like you had a legal problem that maybe I could help you with.
So what? So now I was like totally on unsure footing because now I'm like, okay, well, what does this guy do? And you're like, I do some YouTube stuff.
Yeah, I always have a hard time explaining what I do to people because everybody just wants a one-word answer. I'm in construction, or like, I'm a doctor, I'm an attorney, or whatever. Something that's easy to sort of explain, but I don't really know what my profession is because my business is kind of weird and we do a number of different things.
So you then say to me, I work in YouTube, and I said, well, what's the channel? I'm interested in this. And you said, what's VAT19, VAT 19. And so I, of course, rudely pull out my phone as you and my wife and everybody are talking.
No, I wanted you to check.
And I check it, and I am like, oh my God, we're sitting with a man that runs a YouTube channel with 6.5 million subscribers. Yeah. Like, you're bigger than Rhett and Link. This is unbelievable.
No, they've got more subscribers.
I just looked it up this morning. They have 4.5 million.
That might be on their, like, a second channel or like a crew channel or something, but their main channel is like 15 million
Okay,
or 20 million.
In any
like
case, you have enough subscribers that millions and millions and millions of people see your views. And in fact, I was just looking it up this morning. You have a video that's been seen by 85 million people. You have other videos that have 25, 15, 5 million views consistently. So we are sitting with a man that runs a YouTube channel that does something to grab people's attention. And I could give a description of it, but I'd be very interested in hearing, how do you describe to people the videos that you put out to the world?
That's a good question. So our YouTube channel began as a way to promote the products that we sell on our gift store. So my professional life is a little strange, the story, but basically right now I have a gift store that sells toys, candies, and sort of general gifts, okay? And they're kind of weird products.
Not kind of weird. They're the weirdest products that you can find.
Okay, so they're kind of weird. They're not your essentials, okay?
Okay.
No one would mistake us for Amazon and like, oh yeah, I'd go there to get copy paper.
Right.
We sell weirder stuff. It appeals to either the kid inside or literal kids. And we make videos on YouTube to promote these outrageous products as outrageously as we can.
And so why don't you give an example of some of the outrageous products that you sell at your store?
I think our most popular product right now is a chocolate bar, although I guess you could use the phrase bar with air quotes around it because it's 1.5 inches by 1 inch. So that's pretty small, but it's the world's spiciest piece of chocolate. It'll put any spicetronaut to shame. I mean, it's as spicy of food that you can create, and it is so popular. I don't know why I guess people like pain. Are they like testing themselves, or they're just, someone tells you this is the spiciest thing in the world and you just want to try it and like see what happens to you.
So if you were trying to sell that chocolate, like, and you were an ordinary person, you'd be like, hey, I've got this chocolate bar. It's really spicy. Do you want to try this? But in your YouTube channel, that's not what you do. You feature these products in really unusual ways.
Yeah, you got to grab people's attention. I've been kind of telling the folks at work that, we sort of, we sell a lot of candy and food, like this world's hottest chocolate bar. We also sell the world's largest gummy bear, right? We've got one that weighs 26 pounds. It's like the size of a 4-year-old, it's giant gummy worms. Really just a 6-foot inflatable soccer ball, a lot of really kind of random but fun products. And when you want to sell something like that, you got to have fun with it, and you've got to, what am I trying to say? You have to grab people with something that is different and unusual. It's got to fit the product, right? The product's kind of weird, and so you can't just tell people that it's the spiciest chocolate bar in the world. You got to show them. So you got to eat it, and you got to try to eat a lot of it, and you're going to have to be in pain. You're going to have to suffer for those sales.
And
right?
so to give an example of how you've done this, one of the ones that caught my attention. So I watched several hours of this right after you left.
That's how we got to 6.5 million subscribers,
because it's addictive. So right after you left, I'm sure that evening I stayed up and watched, 2 hours of your videos, because once you start, you just can't. You're totally hooked. You're very, very good at this. But then even today, I was watching some, and with that world's spiciest chocolate bar, you took a bunch of them, ground them up, and then put them in a chocolate fountain.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
And then you would have your employees dip some sort of candy in it and then take a bite of it. And there's no mistaking, like there's no actor on earth that could fake the level of intensity that they're going through. And it's so mesmerizing because even though I can't smell or taste the chocolate, I'm like, that looks really, really intense.
Yeah. We have to do it for real because we aren't good actors. We gotta method act. So I'm lucky that I've got employees willing to try that spicy stuff because it wreaks havoc on the way in and on the way out.
Oh,
Right?
wow. It's not just for while you're recording.
It's rough.
And then you're doing other things outside of just like spicy stuff. Like one of the first videos I ever saw was when you made the world's largest bath bomb.
Oh yeah.
And so I actually wasn't familiar with bath bombs, but this is like the concept of like you get a little ball and you drop it in your bath and then it makes suds and you can sit in it. Is that?
Yeah. I wasn't that familiar with them either, but I think they're more popular with women than they are for men. And it's some sort of combination of like, is it baking soda and a couple other chemicals, and so you can sort of mold it into a thing, and then you can put fragrance in it, and you throw it into your bath, and I guess it fizzes. It's like a Alka-Seltzer tablet for your bathtub or something. I don't know. Women would understand this a lot better than I do. Well, that came about. That's a weird one because the video came first and the product came second.
Okay.
So, the pool at my house was broken and we needed a new pool. And so I was sitting at dinner with my wife, Allison, and I said, we're killing this pool, right? So what could we do to this pool that you would never do to a pool that you cared about, right? Since we're getting rid of it anyways and we're putting a new pool in. And she had the idea of a giant bath bomb, just making like a huge one because, it's probably going to mess up your pool as far as like the filters and whatever. I mean, you just wouldn't want to put that much like weird chemicals in your pool. So that was the idea. And then we started working backwards from there because most of our videos promote a product that we sell in our store. So it was like, what do we do? So I start looking into all these bath bombs. I'm like, they're all the same. I can't find any one that's like interesting or cool. So, eventually we came across a lady making black bath bombs. So you throw it into your bathtub and it turns it black. It kind of like dyes your bathtub black. And I was like, that's it. Let's make this giant bath bomb and have it turn my pool black. That'll be awesome. And it barely worked. That was like super high stress level for like a few weeks.
And so the video is essentially you have a bunch of people that get together and they figure out like how are we going to construct this cylinder, or not even a cylinder, like a sphere that you can then mix all the chemicals in to make a bath bomb, and then you buy, it looked like industrial ingredients to be able to put all this together. You make this bath bomb and then you drop it into your pool and it just explodes and makes black everywhere, and then your employees jump into the pool and start swimming around in it.
Yeah, I think we all got a rash.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody had to have wondered because it is black in there.
I think, I don't think bath bombs are good for your skin.
Okay.
Well, maybe you're not supposed to stay in them for like 3 or 4 hours, which is what we ended up doing, because you're like, we just put this giant bath bomb in this pool. We're going to hang out for a while. But that was a ton of fun. It was super high stress because, you can look on the internet for a recipe to make a bath bomb, but everyone's making them, this big. We've got to make one that's 4 feet in diameter. I mean, it weighed 2,000 pounds.
2,000.
So, yeah. So when you start thinking about, I'm thinking back to when we made that video and the problems that we ran into, I don't want to bore people with them, but, when you scale something up that large, things come into play that don't normally when you're working on something that's like 2 inches in diameter. How long is it going to take to dry?
Oh,
Because, to dry all the way into the middle of this thing, like, is it going to work? And then, we built the molds at my studio, but then we've got to get everything to my house and we got to build it. And what if we take the mold apart and the whole thing just crumbles. And we've just wasted thousands of dollars and, hundreds of man hours making this thing, and it doesn't work. Now what?
So that brings up an interesting question. When you're making a video like that, what is your goal? It's views?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So and what does that mean to people that aren't familiar with YouTube? Like, I'm a YouTube junkie, but I have found that kind of puts me as an anomaly in the tribes I run around in. I think most people don't have any idea, one, how big YouTube is, but then two, like who's making money there and how are they doing it?
Well, YouTube, I think, is the world's second largest search engine behind Google. So it's gigantic. I can't remember the stats off the top of my head, but I think they've surpassed a billion unique visitors. What is it, a month or something like that? I mean, Facebook's at maybe 2 billion or something. YouTube's probably right around there. It's gigantic. I mean, I've been on YouTube and, obsessed with it for 10 years. And I come across YouTubers all the time that I've never heard of that are 2-3 times my size, that are getting hundreds of millions of views a month, have 10 million subscribers. I'm like, I've never even heard of this person because it's so giant that you might just, never get to that corner of YouTube. As far as who's making money on YouTube, I mean, a lot of people are. I think it's overblown how much money people are making on YouTube. It's a newer media platform. And so, yeah, your top 10 people might be making pretty decent livings, but considering how many eyeballs they're generating, how many views they're generating, we're really underpaid. And this isn't supposed to be like a woe is me. Because I know people are thinking, oh, like you sit around your house all day making like stupid videos and you get paid for it. Like, poor you. And it's like, well, that's what some people do on YouTube. And I sort of agree. I don't have much sympathy. But if you take the viewership and let's say you compare the viewership of a YouTuber that's getting 50 million views a month, right? Well, let's make the math easier. 60 million a month. It's about 2 million a day. How many viewers does Rachel Maddow get each night on cable news?
Yeah, it's not 2 million. Yeah.
I don't think it's 2 million.
Yeah.
And what is she?
Certainly not 30 days a week that she's getting 2 million. Yeah.
What is she pulling in? 20, 25, 30 million a year? No YouTuber's making that much money. No way. So what's the difference between the eyeball on YouTube and the eyeball on cable? The only difference is the advertisers, still feel more comfortable on cable than they do on YouTube. And so they're just not willing to pay as much, or there are not as many advertisers there. So the price is a lot lower. But you can make a living on YouTube, but I think in general they're underpaid for the amount of exposure they get.
And for your business model, you're more diversified than the kid that's making Let's Play videos because you have both the videos that you're making. So there's viewership. Then you have sponsors that actually say, hey, regardless of how many, well, we want you to get a certain number of views, but we're putting money up front as the same way a regular advertiser would. And then you actually sell things in your store.
Yeah. So we do have 3 different sort of revenue streams there, but they're all predicated upon, the views from YouTube. I mean, if our views suddenly, go way down, then obviously the ad revenue from YouTube would go down. The sponsors will pay less because you're getting lower views, and the traffic coming to my store will be lower as well, and the revenue from the store will be lower. So the YouTube channel is the primary driver for our business.
Well, I mean, this actually is one of the very first things that we talked about that night once I found out about your YouTube, which is, do you feel like you're in danger by having your channel or your ability to make money coming from, essentially Google? They can turn on or off that switch.
Your business is always in danger.
Okay.
That's what I think. I mean, I don't think any business is ever really safe. I think that's why it needs, you know, good stewardship, right? You got to be thinking about it, caring about it. I haven't been in business that long compared to some other folks, probably about 17 years. I've already pivoted my business at least 3 times, and it was necessary each time, you know, so, and if I hadn't made those changes, the business would be dead.
And what were you doing? You had a business before YouTube then?
Yeah, we had like a family business that did video production.
Oh.
For companies here in St. Louis. So you would come to us and we'd make like a terrible video for you. You know, you got a car dealership? Yeah, I'll make that video.
Oh, no kidding.
You got, you need a video about sexual harassment? I'll make that video for you.
Did you make that video?
Yeah.
Did you make it?
Oh, of course.
And so what is that like? You have scripts and then it's like, you know, should Roger come in the room?
Blocked it all out. The worst were the medical videos. So these doctors would record themselves. Oftentimes it was like plastic surgeons recording themselves doing procedures. And there was a company here in St. Louis that sold I guess it was like continuing education or I don't know. And so these doctors are in there and they're just like hammering away at some person's nose, you know, doing a rhinoplasty. And yeah, we're like making those videos. So that's what we were doing. We were just selling time like a lawyer would, except, you know, for a lot less than a lawyer makes. It wasn't a good business.
And so what signaled to you guys that it was time to get out of the video making business?
The signal was probably the amount of money in the bank account. You know, that's an extremely difficult business. And at age 22, 23, not one that I could properly navigate. I mean, maybe now I could do something like that, but I wouldn't enjoy it. So we started trying to pivot away from that and trying to own more of our own destiny by making our own content. So, and this is how we got to a store. So we saw the explosion of DVDs. So we started to try to make our own DVDs and sell them on our website.
No way. Wow.
Yeah.
That's entrepreneurial.
So we started with hard hitting stuff like video fireplaces and video aquariums. So yeah, I'd go take a camera to my friends' houses. Well, my friends' parents' houses that had nice houses and nice fireplaces, and set a camera up, light a fire in like the middle of June, videotape that, buy some Christmas music, put it with it, put that on a DVD, and sell that. And that's sort of the first DVD we made. Then there was the video aquarium, and then there was like the calming DVD, and then I expanded into educational DVDs.
And how did they do? But how did the Fire DVD do?
Like those did like pretty well, you know.
Like you're talking
yeah.
like enough for you to take your girlfriend out to dinner, or like paying your rent?
Oh, I'm trying to remember. We probably over the years, gosh, I'm just pulling this number out. We probably sold anywhere from 20 to 50,000 copies of that.
Holy jeez.
Maybe more. I don't know. Somewhere, but we're talking over the course of maybe 4 or 5 years. And then we got into educational stuff, and you'll like this. So I made like a driver's educational DVD. I made a DVD on public speaking.
Hey, all right.
Right, how to give a speech. It was called Making the Speech, and it was like a reality stuff. I'm thinking about the video. It's not terrible, but kind of cringy. And so we would make these, and I'd make flyers and send them out to like libraries. So a big business for us for a while was selling to schools and libraries, and there's distributors that sell into those markets, and so I would pitch them my DVDs, and did that for a few years. But then I saw that DVDs were it looked like they were gonna, stop being as popular. And I thought, well, okay, if I can't make the product anymore that I'm selling, then I've got to sell other people's products. And I loved making these goofy trailers for our DVDs, right? That would promote the DVD, try to, entice you to buy this fireplace DVD. So I thought I can just make trailers, like goofy trailers for products, and there'll be no client, no customer. I'll make money when I sell the product. And that was like the big shift back in about 2007.
Where did you imagine you were going to place those videos? Was YouTube a thing?
YouTube, yeah, at that point, YouTube was a thing. Because YouTube started in like 2005, I think. And around 2006, 2007, I was putting those DVD trailers on YouTube because it was free. It was free hosting. Because before that, I was paying this company called Akamai probably $1,200 a month for video
server
bandwidth.
Space. Oh, yeah.
For the bandwidth to stream out the videos, to sell these ridiculous DVDs.
It had to have been so painfully slow back then to be doing videos.
Oh, and the videos were like, they were like this big. I mean, they were like, I don't know, like, the kids today would say they were shot with a potato. You know what I mean? I mean, they were like these 320 by 240, 4:3 aspect ratio, tiny little videos that took forever to buffer. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Like, it'd play for a little bit and then you'd wait. Sometimes you'd like go to the bathroom, come back. Now it's buffered.
Yeah, it'd be easier to watch grainy Cinemax on your
right,
TV.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that was back when it's like, I better make this video short because no one's going to want to sit through a 5-minute long video that buffers.
And so that YouTube was your primary. You saw the light there.
It was free. No, I didn't see any light there. I'm not like that. I'm not like visionary at all. It was free, and that's where I put the stuff. I don't even think back then there. You had like a YouTube account. I don't even know if they called them channels. I don't even know if there were subscribers back then. There was no vanity metrics. It was just free. It was just a place to put it, and the videos would play back. And its sole purpose was to get people that were on my store to buy something. That's it. I did not see YouTube as a advertising medium for us. I ran ads in a bunch of other places to get traffic to my store. And then YouTube was just something I embedded on my website to just play back my my commercials.
And then did it work then?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how VAT-19 got started then?
That's how we got started. I mean, I basically poured all the money from selling the DVDs, which were very high margin, back into advertising to try to get traffic to the store as we started adding other products and making trailers for these other products.
And then with those products, are you buying them wholesale? You're going out and finding cool things and saying, I'm going to buy 50,000 of them? And
yeah, I mean, the first 3 years, it was tough because it's like, I got one person there buying, and they're like, "What is our store, Jamie?" I go, "I don't know. Find me cool products. Like, what is that? What's a cool product?" I mean, I can't stress enough how there was no business plan. Okay, like I cannot stress enough how this was not strategic at all. This was, I'm broke. I'm just trying to figure out my way here. I'm, at that point, 27 years old. Not a lot of experience in business, just trying to figure out a way to make some money. That's it.
And when you were 27 or even before that, were people around you like, Jamie's a hustler, he's going to make it work? Or they're like, Jamie's lost, he's never going to make it?
I don't know.
Surely you have some sense. Were people rooting for you?
I don't know. I know my wife was.
Yeah, I bet.
She was rooting for me, but friends and whatnot, I don't know. I didn't. I mean, this might make me sound like whatever, but I didn't really like solicit their opinion on my life and what I was trying to do. I don't know what the employees thought at that time. If they thought,
you had employees by that point.
Well, it was a family business, and so we went from about 15 employees down to about 4.
from the videos that you were making, the instructional videos.
The for-hire business, the service-based business, had about 15 people. September 11th came along, and every advertiser in the country was like, pump the brakes. So maybe a couple weeks after September 11th, we had to let go 10 of the 15 people there. Man. So we were left with like 4 or 5 people, and it's like, all right, so let's, what are we going to do here? So I started making the DVDs that I mentioned, and, when you've got like 4 people, it's like, okay, I think maybe we can pull off filming a fireplace, and then I started to sort of try to improve it and grow as we go, but I was probably too naive or wrapped up in what I was doing to even think to survey the employees to see if they thought this was going to work, if they felt secure in their jobs or anything like that. I was just like, I'm going to try this thing and see if we can make some money doing it. As I said, no business plan. It was just like, okay, I think this makes sense. Let's try this. Okay, this is working. Do more of that. Oh, that's not working. Stop doing that. Keep doing more of this. And I don't know.
Well, then when did the thing start to settle out and you started to say, hey, things are going, they're heading up? Was there a big turning point?
I'm probably a little bit more pessimistic than optimistic by nature, so I've never felt like, oh man, it's going really well.
That is shocking, because your personality online is like exuberant optimist with just, this happy, playful attitude.
You know how people can like trick, the mind over body? You can sort of, if you start, thinking that you're sick, you become sick type of thing. So that's my technique.
Okay.
Oh, this is going to be awesome. This is going to work. This is going to be awesome. This is going to be great. And then maybe it turns out well, but deep down, I'm never like, oh, we got this. Business is doing great. We're awesome. It's more like, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, oh God. Oh, most of the time that's what's really going on. Because I just feel like any business, you're a couple bad decisions away from ruining the entire thing.
How many employees do you have now?
23 or 24, 25, somewhere like that.
And what are they doing all day?
God only knows, right?
Well, I mean, the reason I ask is because a big shtick in your show is that you stop by people's offices and you're like, hey, you can either hold this sucker that's like flaming hot in your mouth, or you can lick my toe. And so that brings up a couple of interesting questions.
Right.
One of which is what are those employees doing before you walk in there? But then second is, when you hire someone, do they sign a waiver that they're going to be exposed to potentially dangerous and somewhat weird working conditions?
Is that something I should do?
I don't know.
I should.
I may interview a lawyer and ask them. I can.
So, we've got employees there that focus on the store aspect of things. We have our own warehouse, so I've got warehouse employees that are shipping out all the things that we sell. And then there's a lot of folks there working on the videos, So, yesterday, for instance, we shot an episode of a new series we've been working on. It was episode 4 of a series called Hidden in Plain Sight, where one of my employees hides from me in the building all day, and I'm trying to find them so I can put them, back to work. So their job that day is to not work, and my job that day is to try to get them, back to work. But they have to be hiding in plain sight, meaning you can see them plain as day if you know where to look.
Okay.
And it's maddening.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Because they're very good at it, number one. They're very clever, very smart with the ideas. And I don't want to say what any of them are and ruin any of the episodes, but they're great reveals. When you finally see how they've been hiding, you're just like, that was good. But it's maddening for me because everyone in the building knows where the guy is hiding. His name's Danny. I'm always trying to find Danny. Everyone knows where he is. So you feel like everyone's laughing at you because you haven't found him yet. And I can't find him. And I just know he's sitting around doing nothing. I'm paying this guy to do nothing. And I want to find him and put him back to work. So it's maddening. But it's a lot of fun.
Your employees seem like the type of people that would be on Mythbusters or something, right? Like a lot. Well, at least some of them, right? Like they're in a shop and they're building trebuchets, like
right.
and to do the giant cornholer game.
Yeah,
and they have a whole lot of skills. And I find myself thinking, and well, at least you do a very good job of making it so it's like, man, I could only dream of working in such a dreamland place. And I know in the back of my mind, it's work. It's got to be work, right? You're paying people to show up.
Yeah.
But it appears to be a very warm, congenial, exciting place to be.
I think that it is. But it always looks better on video than it, probably is in real life. But video production by nature is a really cool profession because it's a lot of problem solving, and unless you've shot a lot of video and different stuff, and I mean we've shot 1,500 different videos, it's just a lot of just, as I said, problem solving. And so that translates well if you've got a couple guys there on the video team that, are kind of handy and have done some, minor engineering stuff. They're just very adept at, okay, how do we make this work to get this done for this video? So that's that.
I mean, to give a good example is not only did they build a trebuchet, but one time you wanted to make Jell-O that you could swim in. So you made a giant vat, and they had to boil the water. So they took these big 55-gallon drums, and they built stilts that you could then put a burner underneath it. But then the question becomes, all right, well, how do you chill the Jell-O fast enough so that you can get it to turn into that gelatinous material? And they couldn't find a refrigerator that they could buy that they could just walk into.
Well, I wanted to use nature. I just wanted to put them outside when it was cold out. There's your refrigerator. That's what I wanted to do.
But it wasn't cold enough at the time when you were doing it?
Well, as we learned, Jell-O requires a very small temperature range for it to become gelatinous or whatever. It can't be below freezing, and it can't be too, I think it's got to be somewhere between like 34 and 40 degrees or something like that. So you're going to have a hard time finding weather
that's going to cooperate.
That like over a 12-hour period is going to be right in that range. So we went looking for a refrigerated truck, and but see, this is the thing. The smart thing would have been to get a giant container that could fit inside of the refrigerated truck. But, we already had the container, already spent the money on that, couldn't return it. So we just built a refrigerator inside our studio. We just sort of built a frame and put a bunch of styrofoam around it, and then got an air conditioner. And then you can get this little gadget. I think it was called the CoolBot. And the CoolBot fools your air conditioner into running constantly, right? So we just got a little window unit air conditioner, put it on this styrofoam sort of cube, and you fool the CoolBot, and you tell the CoolBot, the CoolBot tells the air conditioner, I think, hey, it's still 70 degrees in here, and the air conditioner is trying to make it 65, so it just runs nonstop. But that air conditioner can make, a small space, I don't know, whatever that was, 35 square feet or whatever. Yeah. It can make it 35 degrees if it's running nonstop.
It was amazing. I was surprised when they came out, and it was funny because at the top of I don't want to give away the whole video, but that warm temperature was enough to make mold on the top.
Yeah. Don't give us too much credit. Like we can figure out some stuff, but we can also ruin it pretty good. And the thing is it's just like, well, yeah, it's moldy. We're not selling it to anybody. No one's going to eat it. So yeah, let's just do it. Let's just hop on in. We'll be fine. You know?
So if you have these, you know, the clearly engineering, do you have a budget for like, hey, this is our budget for this year on how we're going to make videos, or how does that work?
Nah, I mean, I've never made a budget.
You're like a businessman after my own heart. You're like, no business plan, no budget. I just do it. And I'm still paying the mortgage, and my children are all clothed, and it's working fine.
I don't. No, I don't have a degree in business. I don't have an MBA. I don't understand accounting that well. I understand enough. I don't make budgets. We just have a culture there of not spending a lot of money on these videos, and just put some simple controls into place. I think I've basically told them, I don't know what the dollar amount is, but it's somewhere between like $250 and $500, where I'm like, if you want to spend more than that amount of money on something, you got to come in and talk to me first. Simple as that. So like on the Jell-O one, they were like, okay, Jamie, it's going to cost $1,500 for all the Jell-O. Do you want to do it? I'm like, yeah, buy it. So
that was $1,500 for the Jell-O. It was like 2,000 pounds or something like that. It was something
maybe
crazy.
it was more than that.
Wow.
Yeah, but I felt deep down that video was going to do well and get a lot of views.
So at this point, what is doing well for you? I mean, when you look at
1 million views.
1 million views.
That's what I'd love every video to get 1 million views within 30 days.
And within 30, and how many videos are you putting out in, say, a week?
We're trying to get to 11 videos every 4 weeks. So what's that? 2.75 or something a week.
It makes me wonder, like, so one of the thoughts that I have about the work that you're doing that's got to be really difficult is what's cool in the world changes, and what's cool on YouTube changes even faster. And yet you've been able to stay on top of that wave for a really long time. How, or at least well enough to be where you're at.
We've had a lot of ups and downs.
Really? It's not been up the whole time.
No.
What is it like to have it down? What do you mean?
It's depressing.
No, I guess I don't mean how did it feel. I mean you're putting up videos and people just aren't watching.
Right. Yeah. That sucks.
And when was the last one of those?
Today.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I watched 5 or 6 hours. So
right. So that's maybe 40 views. I need like 3 million or 4 million a day.
You're talking, so that's what your business requires, 3 to 4 million a day?
No, I wouldn't say it requires, but that's what, we're hoping for, what we're striving for. It's an embarrassment of riches what we've got going on there, right? So I try to keep that in perspective. But I think it's human nature. You get accustomed to something pretty quickly. And so, if it deviate from that norm, it can have a pretty profound impact. I'll give you an example. Maybe about 6 months ago, we were in a real downward trend on YouTube. Videos were getting maybe 300 to 500,000 views in 30 days. And there'd been times in years gone by where, we would sort of make bets on how many days until the video gets 1 million views, right? So it was just like guaranteed. We were going to get 1 million views for this video, maybe more. It was literally like we could do no wrong. No matter what we put up, it was just going to get huge view numbers. And as YouTube changes its algorithm over time, all of a sudden you put a video up that you think is really good and it just doesn't do well. 6 months ago, that's where we were. 300, 400, 500,000 views a video, which to many people might be
would be mind-blowing.
That's mind-blowing.
Their wildest dreams, yeah.
Right. but we've gotten accustomed to 1 million. So all of a sudden, 500,000 views, which is basically like 10, what is that? Like 10 Yankee stadiums full of people watched your video, right? But that's depressing. That's a failure. So that's how quickly you get accustomed to a particular way. And so we had to sort of pivot our whole business, change it, to get the dramatic results we wanted. And it took us a few months, and then all of a sudden the videos start getting millions of views again.
What's that conversation like? Because you have creatives there and writers and and videographers, and you're in there saying you guys got to write harder. Like, what do you mean?
Well, I mean, you can't no. I mean, that doesn't work. You can't just go in and say, guys, you got to make better videos. They're going to say, what does that mean, man?
Right.
Well, we did the thing that I thought I would never do. I hired a consultant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And worked with him for 3 months, and he gave us some tips and said, try this, do it, try it. So we tried some of the things that he suggested, and they turned out to work. And so once everybody saw that, it's easy to get the buy-in and say, guys, okay, we got to go from this mode of making videos and shift it all the way over to this mode.
Can you describe any of that, like the changes?
So we, it's kind of like inside baseball sort of YouTube stuff, but in a nutshell, we went from making videos that were 1 or 2 minutes long to ones that were over 10 minutes long. Mm-hmm. That was, and then we started doing a lot of testing.
Who's watching your videos? I mean, you kind of alluded to.
I think it's kids.
Do you get demographic information?
You do from YouTube, but what a joke, because they start at age 13, because you're not supposed to be. You're supposed to be over 13 to be on YouTube.
It's funny that you're bringing up how old people are, and that it's a joke that you don't actually know, because I was telling Annie that you and I were going to do this interview, and I was telling her that the children must love this, and she was like, well, how would you know? And I'm like, the demographic information on the back end of YouTube. And she's like, but how does YouTube know if it's a kid or not? And I was like, you just don't know anything about technology.
Your wife's smart.
Yeah. So
right?
So you really don't know who those Yankee Stadium full of people are. Do you get noticed when you're out on the street?
Yeah. Occasionally, yeah.
By kids?
It's mostly kids.
And what's that like?
I'm indifferent to it.
I didn't expect that as an answer. Meaning you're like, hi kid, go
No,
on.
I think it's great that they watch. Like I'm just like, that's awesome. Thanks for being a fan. Thanks for watching. They want to take a picture. They want an autograph or whatever. I'll do it. But I don't walk away from that sort of jumping up in the air and kicking my heels and being like, oh, I'm recognizable, or I've been noticed or something like that. That doesn't do anything for like my ego or my level of happiness or anything like that. So yeah,
because that's something you learned, or is that?
I guess it's just the way I am. Like,
man, that has got to be super, super healthy, because I would imagine the celebrity that comes along with YouTube can be a terrible gamble that people play or bet.
I think it could. Yeah, I bet it could be. I mean, you do see that, right? I mean, it happens all the time. People can't sort of handle celebrity, and not that we're celebrities by any stretch. I mean, I know that. I've had those moments where kids come on tours to our facility, and I'll like walk up to meet them, and the kids will like, they'll like, they'll gasp, or you try to talk to them and they can't talk, right? And their parents are like, they're freaking out. They're just, and it's hard to understand like that reaction. I mean, I get it, but it's also just like, I just make goofy videos on YouTube. It's not that big a deal, but I understand where they're coming from. And I'm super appreciative that we have an audience that wants to see this stuff. But and I don't want to make it sound like I don't care about them. I do. I'm just indifferent to it. Doesn't I don't get a buzz out of it, an ego lift, anything like that.
I to me this is wonderful, right? It's very humble, and it seems genuine, and probably keeps you makes you a more normal person. And it also it's a funny thing, because if you had walked around your neighborhood, there's no way people have any concept when you're taking your walk that you're well known to millions of children. Or
no, and that's good, right? I don't aspire to that either. I could be in every single video if I wanted and make sure that my face is seen more and more, but that's not something I care about. What I like is making a video that does really well and that people seem to really like and enjoy and want to watch. That's what I get the big high out of, is like, yes, we figured it out. It's like cracking a code each time. Think about what it's got to be like to have made like a hit movie. Hollywood's making a couple hundred movies a year, 300 of them. You got the best writers, directors, actors in the world working on these projects. And how many do you remember 3 years from now out of the 300 that Hollywood makes each year? A handful, right? Maybe 10,
right.
Maybe. So think of what that must feel like to have been the director on that movie, one that, did really well and that people kind of remember. Like, to me, that's what, and we're, Hollywood, us. We're.
It's all attention at the end of the day.
But we're, it's very, very small, minor thing. I'm not comparing ourselves to a Hollywood movie by any stretch. I'm just saying the feeling of accomplishment of it's so hard to get people's attention that when you can make a video that does well, and kids come on a tour and you ask them, like, what's one of your favorite videos? And they name one because it stuck out to them. That's pretty awesome, because it's like, hey, we came up with that idea and we figured out how to do this and we did it. And that's awesome to me.
So one of the things that I often talk about is that attention is the most valuable thing that you own. And whatever you're paying attention to is whatever you think of as the most important thing that you could be doing at that moment. Because if you could think of something more important to be doing at that moment, you'd be doing it. So that means that in that context, the content that's going out on YouTube that you're putting out is worth the most valuable thing that people own, their attention. What do you think you've learned about people's attention by making videos and creating that relationship where people are having this kind of joyful experience and being entertained?
I've learned that I've got a lot more to learn. You get really cool data from YouTube. You get second by second retention information. So you can see this amazing graph of how many people were watching the video at that point of the video. So it starts out at 100% and then starts sort of dropping as time moves on. And you can see big dips, right? Oh, when we hit to this point of the video, everyone dropped off and stopped watching. Or, oh my gosh, look at how long everyone kept watching till the very end. And that to me is so fascinating, but it's teaching us constantly how to tell better stories, how to keep people's attention longer. First thing we got to do is we've got to grab their attention to start with. You got to have that thumbnail and title that grabs you in 2 seconds. It's a book cover, it's a billboard. You got to grab them. And you got to tell a story in half a second. But if they click on it, now you've got to keep their attention for as much of 10 minutes as you possibly can, knowing that everything else on the site is trying to get them to watch the next video or watch a different video or whatever. I mean, how often do you click play on YouTube and you're watching the video and there's, 4 more right underneath it, and you can be scrolling through and looking at other stuff that you might want to watch while you're watching that one video.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, so that viewer is constantly being pulled away from your content. So I've learned how much I don't still know about how to tell a good story and how to craft better stories and more engaging stories. That's what we're constantly working on is, okay, how do we keep people's attention longer? And that's difficult. And you probably find this with a lot of people you talk to that are so-called experts in whatever it is that they do. As you work on this stuff more and more, the less you feel like you really know it.
Oh, I also talk about a thing, the Dunning-Kruger effect. Are you familiar with this?
No.
So the Dunning-Kruger effect is the experience, like if you were to map how confident from 0 to 100 somebody is on a subject over the amount of time they've spent studying it. So you watch one documentary or you read one book, your confidence spikes from 0 way up. Maybe you listen to a second one, it just keeps going up. But you hit a point where eventually the more you learn, you start saying, oh, wait a second, that exposes how little I know. So your confidence starts going down. And it will continue to go down for a very long time until eventually you'll hit like a trough. We call this the trough of disillusion, where you're like, I'm never going to hit the bottom. There's so much to know, I'll never know it all.
Yeah.
But eventually you can come back up. And it's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. It was kind of coined by Dunning and Kruger. And I would imagine something like attention, in particular, when you're talking about the algorithms that change in this weird world of YouTube, that you may always be in that trough of disillusion.
That's the most depressing thing I've heard, but I think you're right.
But I mean, like,
that gives me some solace.
Yeah, I mean, it can on the one hand, I think one of the things that you learn about that Dunning-Kruger effect is to be on the confident side means that you are arrogant and vastly overestimating what you really know. And it's only when you're over here falling down that you're saying, well, I'm still learning, right? I'm still progressing. I'm still moving along on that path.
Yes, that's exactly how I feel.
I mean, that's
most of the time is, I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know. I feel like that with so many things. I don't know. Maybe that's healthy. Maybe that's good. But
I think there's got to be a balance there, right? If you were, the pessimist that's extremely pessimist never tries anything. The person that says I know nothing, is just as ignorant as the person that says they know everything.
Yeah. What I think happens to, this is sort of really simple distilling it down, but it's like, okay, well, if I don't try, I can't fail type of thing. And the more effort you put into it, the worse it feels to fail at something, right? The game I was telling you about where I'm trying to find the employee that's hiding from me, right? The longer it goes, the more into that trough you feel like you've fallen into. The longer it goes and I can't find this guy, this is going to feel even worse if I never find him.
You're being genuine. Like, it really is frustrating to you that you can't find him.
Of course. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I had to be like, well, maybe he's just doing a shtick here. Like, I can't find him. And then there's singing music in the background. You legit are saying, like, I get frustrated with the fact that I can't find him.
It's my building, right? I know the whole building, top to bottom. There aren't rooms in there that, like, I don't know where they are. I mean, it'd be like your house. It'd be like inviting me over to your house and then you counting the 10. I go hide somewhere and then you can't find me for 7 hours. You'd be like, where is he? And then to make it even worse, it's like, I'm not hiding. I'm literally in plain sight. You just need to know where to look, He's not like built a false wall or anything like that.
Well, I'm
That's
totally
never where
intrigued.
That's never where he hides. So anyway, I don't know how I got off on that tangent,
so
but
I will put a link to this video as soon as I watch it, and because this is good, right? Like, you've clearly built some tension here, and I'm willing.
Where
to go.
is he?
One of the thoughts that I have about you studying attention and figuring out how do I capture other people's attention, how do I do these things, is you're a parent, 4 children, and people are vying for their attention. So how do you think about how they spend their time in front of a computer or with access to YouTube? And what do you know by being on the other side of the camera?
I think YouTube's fine. I think iPhones are fine. I think everything's pretty much, unless it's inherently dangerous, say like, I don't know, like a hot stove, anything's fine in moderation. So YouTube's not going to hurt them. iPhone's not going to hurt them. None of that stuff's going to hurt them. But if you do it 7 hours a day, that's a problem. If you do anything that long, that's a problem. So that's how I view it. So,
man, this is unorthodox. I did not.
What?
I mean, like, you don't normally hear people say that. You hear people say, you got to watch that. I want to lock it up.
The screen
we
time.
have this. This is very, very different.
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying.
You can keep going with it. I'm not telling you this is bad advice. I'm just saying.
I think we figured out all these things, a long time ago as sort of culture, species. It's just, and we have them all in sort of, phrases or whatever, everything in moderation. Boom. You can live your life by that. We figured that out. Just like, can't do any one thing too much. Podcasts are awesome, but you can't do it 12 hours a day. Die.
Do you find yourself telling your kids there are certain channels they can't watch?
Sometimes. My wife's not going to like this, but...
Dude, my wife never listens. Don't worry.
At least not this far into it,
That's right, yeah.
So when I was growing up, the big fear, I think, was violence in video games, right? Or maybe it was satanic themes in video games or something. And
we had Doom and all that.
Yeah, and then like, bad language in rap songs and all this, and Tipper Gore with her rating system on CDs or whatever. What was it? Parental guidance or something, or some sort of.
They had the explicit lyrics.
Explicit lyrics, and
that
it was
just
like
told you that told you which ones to buy.
Right. That was a big sticker that said, "Buy me, 13-year-old Jamie.
That's
buy
right.
this." And I'm like, and none of that caused any harm. Like, I think I was 14 years old, and so my parents were divorced. I think my dad showed me the movie Basic Instinct. I was like 14 or something. I'm pretty normal. It didn't ruin me or whatever. I just think these things like language, sex, whatever, I just don't think there are any words that are like bad. I don't think in polite company, right? Your 5-year-old shouldn't be dropping F-bombs everywhere they go. But generally speaking, I don't think there's a problem with them hearing it. They should just know when it's appropriate to say it and when it's not appropriate to say it. That's all. So I don't know. I just don't think keeping kids away from these subjects is protecting them. I think it's sort of coddling them from what's going to happen later on in life.
So the concept of family friendly, that's not one that you...
Well, I understand that the majority of people don't agree with what I'm saying. So I don't have I make content that falls under those guidelines. But I know that there's a lot of content on YouTube that my kids have access to that wouldn't be considered family friendly. And I don't necessarily have a problem with my kids seeing that stuff. And I know that that's sort of appealing, especially as my kids get older and become teenagers. They're going to want to watch more and more sort of taboo type of content. But from a business standpoint, I make traditionally family-friendly type of content because I want the broadest audience possible. So it's just like a business move that I wouldn't say is like antithetical to my beliefs on this, because I'm not saying that content needs to be explicit in order to be good. I just don't think we necessarily have to shield kids from it.
I mean, it's interesting that you have this perspective, in most of all because, I mean, your content could be watched by a 10-year-old that wouldn't see anything in there that, yeah, I mean, it's like, it's very, you know, there's no bad language. It's all kind of fun and games. It's all kind of happiness. You're wincing. You don't think it's
No, I like Disney movies. I like Pixar movies. I also like incredibly violent movies too. I mean, you know, we can all be a lot of different things, you know. I don't know. Walt Disney probably watched porn. I don't know.
That's a good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, but I'm guessing he did, and didn't think that it was. You know, he probably thought, "Oh, this probably would."
This isn't good for the kids, but it's not. I don't think it's not okay for me.
Yeah, I don't think he. You know, it's like, okay, his business is going to be, you know, super family friendly, but he might have like differing points of view. I mean, I think that's okay. I think most evangelical preachers would agree with me on that, because I think for business they project a certain point of view, but I think they're in their real life they have a very different. They live a different set of values, perhaps.
Okay, so in the same vein of family friendly is the idea of privacy. So you have a lot of kids that are able to make videos really high quality. They're filming themselves playing video games. They're doing all kinds of stuff. What, from your vantage point, do you have concerns about kids getting out on social media at an early young age? You're so pensive. I've never had a guest that's so.
I'm thinking about
these long drawn out pauses.
Sorry.
I'm sitting there wondering, do I need to cut these out for people? Or
you might.
No,
yeah,
by all means.
I would be terrible on radio. I don't have a yes no on that.
Well, what are the things people should consider?
Well, you know, it's no good, obviously, when a kid goes and puts himself out there online and then gets sort of bullied by the comments and ends up killing themselves. That's what I think about, is like, that's terrible. And then, so that's the bad side. All right, so that's the risk you're taking. What's the potential reward? I don't know if the reward's high enough. I'm not sure for a child, you know. What is the reward? I mean, I guess they're learning skills, which is great. Maybe learning the skill of coping with sort of negative comments and criticism is pretty worthwhile life skill. The money that they might make is definitely a good reward, but you know, most guys going out into business that are sort of quote unquote risking everything. You know, a 35-year-old guy quits his job, starts a business. I'm risking everything. It's not risking his life usually. It might be risking a bunch of money, mortgage, you know, stuff like that. But these kids seem a lot more fragile because they're just so much younger, and taking that kind of online abuse, maybe that risk isn't worth the reward. So I'm not sure. I think the parent just has to kind of look at that and say, okay, what's the makeup of my child? Do I think they can handle it? Should I just disable comments so no one can comment on what my kid's doing? I'll give you a little story. When I was maybe 12 or 13, you know, I was a computer dork. I had what was called a BBS, which stands for a bulletin board system. I don't know if you're
Oh,
familiar.
yeah. I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I had one at my house, right? Got my mom to install a second
Man,
phone
you
line.
were advanced.
So kids could call up this thing. And I remember I was 13 or 14, and my handle on this system was Black September. Okay, that's what I chose. I'd read a book about it, so being 14, I thought I'd be cool, right, and name my handle Black September. Not really fully understanding, you're 14, you do stupid things.
I don't know what that is.
I'm trying to remember. Let me look it up. I think it refers to a terrorist event perpetrated against Jewish people. Sorry. Okay. Black September was a Palestinian militant organization founded in 1970.
Oh, man. Okay.
It was responsible
So, yeah.
for the assassination of a Jordanian prime minister and blah, blah, blah. It's when a bunch of Israeli athletes and officials were kidnapped and killed during the 1972 Summer Olympics. Okay. And I'm not a religious person, but my mom was Jewish, so I thought I was sort of being like ironic, calling my handle Black September. Okay, not really understanding what I was like doing by picking that, but I was just like, I don't know, being stupid and ironic. And I started getting all these people on the bulletin board just harassing me nonstop about all this, anti-Semitic stuff, and I just like.
Were you prepared for it? I mean,
No,
were you-
I didn't think that was going to happen. I just thought it sounded cool. Oh, Black September, that sounds cool.
And what did it do to you? Like, were you? I mean, because
I just
it's not like your
unplugged-
friends
I-
at school would see it.
No, I just unplugged the computer one day and just shut it down. And people kept calling that phone number for like 6 months trying to get onto the bulletin board. So I was really hurt by it. I was like, this person doesn't know me, and they're saying all these terrible things about me because our family's Jewish, and it was terrible. But I could just turn it off. I could make it go away. I just unplugged the phone line, and so it just sort of went away. And so the reason why I bring up that story is because the kids today, is there an off button for that stuff? I don't think there is anymore. You can't just like turn off social media. I mean, they could kill their account, but then that kills their whole like highway into their social network, literal social network with their friends and everything. So they can't just kill their Instagram account. Were they going to start a new one? The people that are harassing them will just go to the new one. So that's what I mean by, I guess the kid could delete their YouTube account or delete their streaming account. I don't know. I haven't thought enough about these things, but I think they're complicated topics. And
Do you
probably-
have access to your kids' social media accounts?
I don't think they have social media accounts, or maybe if they do, they're all set sort of private or whatever. But yeah, I guess through my actions of not really wanting my kids to do this stuff, I don't think it's good for them. And I remember reading something about like a lot of the guys that work out in Silicon Valley send their kids to schools that, don't have iPads. Yet the school my kids go to, they're like, every child has an iPad. They're just like, this is great. And the people that work at Apple that invented the iPad are like, I don't think these are good for kids. I don't know if these are the best devices. Kids being in front of screens all day learning off it is great. Again, everything in moderation. I don't think the trade-off. You talked about privacy. I don't know if it's totally worth it, especially for a kid. So. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you should be creating content at that age because again, I think the risk might be too high versus the reward. I mean, I made some really stupid videos when I was 13, 14, 15 years old. Thankfully, you can't find them anywhere. You know, you're finding yourself, you're finding your way at that age. And do you want everybody seeing that? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like, and I don't think it'll ever happen, but it does seem like it'd be really nice if kids could hit a reset button at 15 or 16 and just be like, you know,
and just sort of
don't get
yeah,
that.
just like you got this big like undo button they can press, and it's just like or at any point, and it just sort of wipes your whole digital life clean. That would be cool.
What do you so along with the hateful comments or the things that can happen to people, what do you think of YouTube and their move to try and cleanse the internet of hate speech?
I don't. Well, in reference to adults or children?
Just in general.
In general.
I mean, I look at the stuff that they demonetize videos and things like that, and it seems like the more you do that, the more YouTube puts themselves in the position of having to make finer and finer and finer distinctions, and that there's no way that people are going to agree with the distinctions that they make because they're all going to be done by committee, and I don't and you wouldn't want them made by a dictator. But the decisions.
I don't know. Dictators get things done.
Yeah, there you go. Yes. So I mean, I guess I just wonder about
decision made. Yeah.
You live in a world where if somebody decides that your videos are somehow insulting to somebody,
we've had that.
Shut off. You've had videos shut down.
We've had video. Well, not we've had them demonetized.
For what?
You know, we made a video that had some like zombies in them, and they thought it was too gory. We had one video where we were testing the efficacy of CBD oil against spicy things to see if you took some CBD oil, if you could then eat something really spicy and have it not hurt as much. And they demonetized that because it had to do with CBD oil.
Completely legal.
Right.
And they
doesn't matter. It's their platform. I mean, to sort of answer your question about hate speech, I don't think any person has a right to not be offended. I think the simplest solution is to, allow pretty much any content to be out there unless it is directly a call for violence against somebody. I think the Supreme Court has made those sort of distinctions before. I mean, there's a lot of caveats to free speech, but I'm pretty, say whatever crazy stuff you want. I don't think you should be policing what people are saying other than, if I go and tell a whole bunch of people, hey, go to Vance's house and let's murder him. I think that, right, is a call to violence that should be silenced. I don't think that should be allowed. But beyond that, I don't think you should have a right to not be offended. However, you don't have a right to make money off your statements, right? I believe that, something is worth what someone's willing to pay for it. So if your content does offend a lot of people and no advertisers want to spend money on your content, then yeah, you're not going to make very much money. You'll have to figure out a different way to do it. You don't have a right to make money off your content on YouTube. I mean, it's a business and you got to follow their rules. But that's the problem with monopoly platforms, and YouTube is kind of monopoly platform. There aren't really other places to find all of, that type of video in that scale.
Do you put your videos anywhere besides YouTube?
We put them on Facebook. But the Facebook audience is a lot different than YouTube. They have probably 1/10 the attention span of people on YouTube, just because of the nature of the platform.
Yeah, they're not there for it.
Yeah, so it doesn't do nearly as well. But I kind of don't really subscribe to the idea that there is hate speech. I think that's actually, I don't want to say a made up concept. I I've yet to see it.
The concept of them being a monopoly is, I don't know, that word monopoly gets thrown around, and it's not a government enforced monopoly. It's not like anybody saying you're not allowed to come out with a new YouTube, a new video platform. It's just it'd be really expensive and really difficult. But it's not like the utilities where they say only one company can run utilities through here.
Right, but sometimes you have like winner take all markets, and is that good? I think we're finding that for some people it's not so good. I think YouTube understands, because they are in this winner take all market, just like Google is with search. I mean, when was the last time you binged something?
Never. Never.
So when you own that market, then you have a lot of responsibility, and it probably does need some level of government regulation. I mean, here's a small example, right? All the tech companies make all their money off of advertising, and none of their metrics are, what's the word I'm looking for? None of their metrics are verified by a third party. So everything they say is self-reported, So
I never thought about that.
I mean, Google's telling the advertiser, yeah, this is how many views the video got. This is how many people saw it. This is how many people clicked on it. This is how many. Who's verifying that? Who's validating any of that? No one, But like for TV, you had the Nielsen's company that would tell you how many.
Wow.
And this has come up to sort of. And I think advertisers have complained about this because there's been some small mistakes that Facebook has made where they've like underreported or overreported impressions for ads. And so you've got these entities that are sort of like monopolies. They're self-regulating themselves. And okay, what's the big deal? It's, maybe Nike overspent some money on some ads. Like, what's the big deal? But what you're getting at is kind of, from a censorship standpoint, right? If the young kids today are getting all of their news from Ray William Johnson, right? And YouTube starts not censoring him, but saying that, look, we're going to, if you talk about certain topics that aren't advertiser friendly, you're going to make a lot less money. So now he's de-incentivized to talk about certain things. And is that good for kids that are getting their news from YouTube? I mean, I'm not saying I have the answer to that. I'm just saying that that's the dynamic that's been created because we don't have news anymore that, is sort of,
That's interesting. So you just said we don't have news anymore. When was the last time you watched CNN or Fox?
I'm while getting a haircut.
Yeah, right. Or in the airport. I mean, I talk about like the only time I ever would see CNN or Fox would be in the airport, and I can tell what part of the country I'm in based on what are they showing on the airport.
Right? Is it Fox? Is it CNN?
It's exactly right.
Is it NBC?
Yeah, and other than that, I would never go there to get my news.
That's where I see it is on Reddit. But we're a headline sort of. I mean, back to I can't remember the names of the two guys. But if we're getting all our news from reading headlines on Reddit and we think that we know something, then
Dunning-Kruger.
Dunning-Kruger, right? We're all 100% confident in everything because we read a headline that morning about it. It's good. Makes for a good informed population, I don't know what the effects are going to be of this 50 years down the road. I don't know.
So to wrap up, not because this hasn't been a great conversation, but it is like about an hour and a half past when I normally go to bed.
Yeah.
And you live up the street.
Right.
And I can have you back again.
Yeah,
whenever
anytime.
I want. This has been a whole lot of fun. if you were going to point out to people, in addition to VAT-19, which I'll link to in the subscription or in the notes, what are some corners of YouTube that people should go check out just to go see? Like, keep in mind a lot of people that are listening are listening as opposed to YouTube fans, and so they don't know necessarily very much about YouTube.
Oh my gosh.
I know it's hard to believe, but
I don't know where to send someone to go to. You know, there's something for everyone on YouTube. So what are your hobbies? Go to YouTube, type that into the search bar, right? What are you into? What do you like? You know, you like Metallica? Type Metallica Live in there, you know? Watch some Metallica shows from 1992, you know, and then see where that leads you, you know, just meander around and see if you find somebody that's interesting, or, you know, you got a hobby or something like that. I mean, I'll watch mesmerizing videos of master woodworkers. And
really?
Oh, dude.
Can you think of one in particular?
I can't remember their names right now because I've got my subscriptions or whatever.
What would you search for if you wanted to see mesmerizing woodworking?
Oh, just type in woodworking and see what pops up. You know, you think CBD oil or whatever chills you out? Watch some dudes that are good at building stuff, woodworking style. Those videos are amazing because, you know, I'm never going to make a chair out of wood, you know, but I'd like to think I could. And watching these other people do it, watching people that are good at something that they really enjoy doing is awesome. You know, that's why you like to have people come here that are sort of experts in whatever it is that they do, because I don't know, you're interested in their opinion or something. Watching people on YouTube that are really good at something is awesome. I mean, there's these videos of this one guy. I'm terrible at names, but there's this website called, I think it's called like Omegle or something like that. Omegle, and you can find those videos on YouTube. And
you just send me the link. I'll put it in.
Yeah, it's this weird thing where it's just like you're on your webcam and it just like puts somebody in front of you, right? And this guy, he's an incredible like piano player and singer. So somebody will just sort of pop up on his chat and, you know, he'll be like, okay, you know, I like playing the piano. Like, what kind of music do you like? And the person on the other end will be like, I don't know, you know, say Metallica or whatever. And I'll be like, oh yeah, I think I know. And he'll just start like playing it and playing a bunch of it and singing along. And it's so fascinating to watch someone that's so good at music that they can just sort of play anything wherever, and they're just doing it on the fly for people. And that's awesome, you know? So like go type in some things you're interested in, hobbies, and see where that leads you on YouTube. 'Cause there's great stuff on there. It's not all just kids being stupid and doing pranks and breaking things, and you know, there's awesome stuff on there.
Well, I mean, I think your stuff is awesome, and I'm not just saying that. I could have just watched one or two, but I found myself being like completely mesmerized by your ability to have so much fun. And I had a friend in town last week, and he said, you know, one time I came home and my mother was to tell my mother, like, Mom, nobody wants to play with me. And she said, well, why don't you just go outside? There's a guy named Dwayne Faber who's just on the podcast. And she said, just go outside, Dwayne, and play and act like you're having as much fun as you can. And eventually people will come around. They'll want to be around you. And you know, I actually think that's a lot of what VAT-19 is about. Like, people are going out, they're having fun, and it's so invigorating and joyful that you just want to be around it. So it made my day better. And I think you're putting things out there that are heartwarming and wonderful and
wow.
worth some point of attention. So
that's really nice.
Yeah, man.
Thanks.
If people wanted to follow you on social media, where would you direct them to?
Just VAT-19. I'm actually not. I'm not on social media. Can you believe that?
So ironic. So, well, thank you so much, man.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate you coming by.
It's been awesome.
Thanks. Well, that's it for this week's interview with Jamie Salvatore. If you want to see more about his shop, you can check out that19.com and go check out some of his videos. I've shown it to other people that I know, and they've kind of looked at it a little bit curiously, maybe with their eyebrows raised, and then they go to watch it, and they end up, like me, watching several hours. It's really interesting stuff, and you can see just what a creative mind can do if they're given a video camera and a crew of people. So thank you so much for watching this. If you enjoyed it, I hope you'll share it with other people. Remember that reviews and subscribing helps me get this out to more people. But just know I have loved doing this. It has been really interesting to interview new characters. And if you can think of interesting people in the St. Louis area that I should sit down and talk with, please do let me know. I hope you have a great week, and we'll be back next Wednesday.